Alright guys, if you are just coming over here, if you skip the light channel part of that, what we've done is we have got our, and I hope I didn't put some section in there that you had to have on both. If something don't make sense to you, you don't understand how we got here, you're going to have to go watch the light channel part of this video, or video series. If you understand how we got here, what we've done is we've just belt sanded the sides. We squared up the holster a little bit more. Doesn't have to be perfect yet, not by a long shot. We are at this point still doing the rough finish. Have not really done anything to the trigger guard section of my holster, nor the finger acquisition area. This is a left-handed holster. Now what I do here at this point is I need to start knowing, notice my gun's still a little bit loose in there. We're okay with that. Don't worry about that yet. If your gun ends up at the end of this and it's a little bit loose, I will show you how to fix it. If you start trying to worry about how tight it is right now, you're going to make it impossible to get this gun out of this holster. So right now we have where it goes in there just nice. So now here's what we're going to do now. We are going to make sure our magazine release is not covered by any part of this. Nice swoops. We do not want it touching any of the levers, but we want it to completely cover our trigger guard. So we've just kind of drawn that out. What I'm trying to do is get around our magazine release. It's not such a big deal on a light channel holster because typically the magazine release is going to be in the light port or the light channel, but if you don't have that, that's an issue. So I also want to make sure that I run down the trigger guard in a nice manner. Again, you don't want to make any very, very sharp 90-degree angles, because those are really hard to deal with. So I'm going to take this back over to my bandsaw, or my scroll saw, make sure my screws are down tight, and I'm just going to follow that line. Do that real quick, be right back. Alright, I have followed my lines here. Take that stuff out. Notice I got some sharp edges. Don't get excited about it. We will fix it. You're still roughing in the holster. Alright. Now I'm getting closer up into my magazine, or my trigger guard. That's a good thing. So I'm going to always take a little bit out. You can go back, guys. I'm going to take that little bit more out right there. One thing when you're scroll sawing this, don't lay it. You got to keep it straight, square to the blade as you're doing it. If you don't, you're going to have a goofy looking holster. Nice little chunks at a time. Just keep working it out. What I'm trying to get is where I can't really get any of the holster, or very, very little of it. And I don't want to say any, very little, because we're going to take the rest of that off the Dremel tool here in a little bit. I am almost happy with that. I need to make sure, remember this guy's left-handed. And do the rest of that with the Dremel tool. If you're just barely touching the Kydex, stop. We're going to trim that all up with the Dremel tool as we make it all pretty and nice. As you notice here, my magazine release is still perfectly covered, which, let me tell you why that's an an issue. If you are taking a class with this gun, in this holster, some places will allow you, or more point require you, especially law enforcement type academies, to do an administrative magazine change, which means your gun has to be in the holster. Well, if you can't access the magazine release while the gun is in the holster, or if you are trying to do this one-handed because you've lost the use of one of your hands, been shot, lost it, whatever, for whatever reason your hand's gone, or that arm's gone or inoperable, you need to be able to throw it in the holster, still reach that magazine release, get that magazine out, and then be able to reload that gun. That lends to why I make sure that magazine release is completely uncovered. So we are going to trim that up just a little bit more. Again, make sure you're doing this at 90-degree angle to the saw blade. You see, every time I come back, a little bit more Kydex goes. Now, I can access that pretty good. I can access that magazine release if I needed to. Got my, where I'm not really hitting any of the guns. We're going to stop there. I am happy with that to this point. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be, we're not finished product yet. So, in this setup, this gentleman is looking for, look at our order, a standard number of rivets. How we're going to do that, I'm going to put 2 rivets up here. That is going to affix the top of the belt loop. Put 1 in the middle and put 2 rivets down here to affix the bottom of the belt loop, which we'll get to in a minute. So I can make these any distance I want, but I want them to be symmetrical. At this point, we can pretty much take our gun out and call that a day. We're going to take both these bolts out. And I want to clean up the inside of the holster a little bit, just because we've got some burrs and dust and garbage in there from, see right there, flipping around, just some stuff from the little bit of drilling we've done, so on and so forth. So just pull them out, put one back in. Time to put the other side back in, but we're going to put my drill guide or whatever drill guide you are going to use in there. So I am I got my drill guide in here. So I got to decide where I want my holsters, or my holes. Now you can see I have black lines on here. Those are the ones we decided were perfectly straight when we made these. Now we actually use one of these high-speed pre-built deals, but I'm going to use this. You need to know where them holes are, and if they're take one of your scrap pieces of Kydex you've got from molding your holster, heat it up, flatten it out, drill some holes in it, look at it. Mark your guide that you have. If you have, like this one, we only had a couple, 3 holes that looked right. I got another one around here that's got a whole different set of holes that look right. You may have to do this. You may have to make this drill guide 15 times to make it look right. Don't just drill holes in. Make a drill guide. Make a drill guide. You want this holster to look nice. Make a drill guide. If you want it to be functional and you don't give a shit what it looks like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Drill holes in it wherever you think you need them. Make your drill guide. I'm going to put one hole there, one hole right below it. I've already got one, so I'm going to put another one there. I know, based on this setup, that I'm going to have two holes here. One there and one there. So I'm going to split the difference. 1, 2. So I think I'm going to put two in the middle of this. It's a little bit longer because of the light. So I'm going to put 2 more in the middle as opposed to 1. Because the standard Apex would have 1 in the middle. This is a little bit longer because of the light and all that than the standard gun. Had I, backed it up here, it would look fine with 1 here. I mean, because the gun would be cut off here, I'd have 1 here and 1 here, and I'd put 1 in the middle. But we got the light a little bit longer. I do them to look right too. So I'm only going to drill that one, these two. I'm not going to drill and I'm going to drill that one because I know these ones all line up great, and then I'm going to move it and do it again. So back up here where you can see Mr. Drill Press. I'm going to do the bottom one next. I'm going to do this one right here, and my Dremel tool cord out of the way. I'm going to do this one next, and then I'm going to take an extra bolt and I'm going to run down in there so we know it's all nice and straight and pretty and all that. A little bit out of room here. So kind of get it lined up where you want it. Drill that out. Run a bolt down in there. It's just got to hold it. Not putting any kind of nut on there. Run that bolt, that rivet hole, and down here to these 2 rivet holes. Alright, now I've got those ones cut. Take that extra bolt there back out. Every time you take this apart, make sure you get that garbage out of the middle. You can get these drill presses from Harbor Freight or whatever pretty cheap. You don't have to have an expensive drill press. You're never going to be, like I said, I'm pulling it apart, cleaning that out. Now, in this case, I'm just going to move one down 1 hole. I'm going to go ahead and line all that up. I'm going to go to the furthest hole south and just put some bolts back in there to drill that final hole. Alright. Now I have 4 great holes. Alright, rivets. Belt loops are going to be an interesting concept, which is what we're probably going to go ahead and work on next, just so you can see where to go. At this stage, I would actually probably just keep going if I was building a holster for me, but seeing how this is going to turn into you guys' project, before you start riveting this together any further, you really need to think about your belt loops. Alright, so yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get set up to show you guys how to build belt loops. And then we'll come back and look at this here a little bit later. But you can see we have symmetrical holes that doesn't look right. I think I'm probably going to put a third hole in this. I must have counted wrong because I was talking and not thinking. That's what happens when you talk and not think. Yeah, I'm going to end up with a third rivet in this now, so it will look right. Because those kind of ended up high. If I would have just put the one in there, it would have looked good, but we've got a hole drilled, so now it's going to get a third one. But anyway, I'm going to set up to do the belt loops. I need to get them out of the way anyway. So when I come back, we're going to talk about doing belt loops.